To introduce Kanwal and Rajann now. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Rajann, his daughter, is now on the board of ICC and is an amazing contributor to this organization. So with that, welcome Kanwal and Rajann, and I think we're going to do a little trick.
Hello?
Hi. So, now, before we start, I do want to recognize a few people again.
You have to hold the mic closer.
Someone was with us in the summer. We started Excelan in the building in April, and she joined us in June as a receptionist, and he was there that summer. I do want to acknowledge Bob Dylan. He's also, he was one of the co-founders of Excelan, by the way, but didn't last more than a day. And he was a real estate tycoon, and he realized that this is a slow, 3, 4, 5 years of work with nothing to show for it, right? So Bob was one of the co-founders of it, but he departed very quickly. Swash was the VP of marketing, for us. And there's a campaign I mentioned we put, in that summer '85. When we went from being an OEM supplier to being an initial supplier, that was, divided and ran by Swash. So anybody else to that there? Okay. All right. Proceed on. Lots of family here. For me.
Yay. Yes, thank you. Okay. Let's dive in. I don't think it was necessarily a conscious choice, but to me your story has a duality, the story in the book has a duality between how female and male figures influenced your life. I'd like to start with how several male authority figures throughout your life didn't seem to think you had what it would take to succeed, starting with your own father.
Well, I tell people, my father was only 33, when the partition happened. And he had wife, 4 kids, his parents, 3 sisters, 2 brothers to take care of. He was a sole breadwinner for that large family. And in addition to that, at the time of partition, he brought all his other brothers, other sisters, his uncles, and his grandfather, like roughly 50, 60 people over the border for Pakistan secondary. He was, I look at 33, really young, right? So he didn't have enough attention to give everybody. So he prioritized, and I prioritized both. Because I had a speaking impediment, and I had a physical handicap at the time, and so he didn't see me as a good stuff, good material for army or civil service, and those are the only jobs available in India at that time. So when I look back, he had his priorities right, but I had my own priorities, and I was going to prove him wrong, which I did.
And the female authority figure, your mother saw a very different version of your potential.
Yeah, so mothers have their own intuition, their own way of seeing things. She very early on thought, I was doing drug places. I don't know how, but she made it well known to me very quickly that she thought I was, doing drug places, and she would tell me, just ignore your dad. Just do your thing. And so there we are. Later, I just thought about Anne, my wife.
Try again. One more time.
Hello?
Anne was an absolute believer in me. We got married in 71, and if you remember, U.S. Didn't really quite allow the interracial marriages till 1968-69. When the Supreme Court of U.S. finally legalized the interracial marriages in the Loving versus Virginia decision. So we were married soon after that. Florida was very much our southern state at that time. Railroad, black, white, was there. So, but Anne and I were pen pals for several years before we met. And when we did meet, and I did ask her very quickly, within 2 weeks after meeting, if we should marry, and she said yes, fairly quickly, if we would reach her. But she was the first person I know who had an absolute, acceptance of me as a person, knowing me as she did, and she from the day one said, she thought I would really go places, and more faith in me than myself really at that time. So.
Tell us about your years at IIT. At your 50th wedding anniversary party, your college buddy described you as quite the teen putty shark.
But I don't know about the teen putty shark. I was lucky at teen putty for sure. And the IIT, I'm sure anybody, there are several of them here from IIT that, IIT is a life-changing thing. Once you get into IIT, you're pulled out of your local, environment you grew up in, family, village, small town. You're put into this company of this elite, people, very competitive, very smart people, and you have to hold your own. So you're among the best of the best, from that perspective. And so I had come from an environment where I had no encouragement, no belief in myself. It's pretty self-low esteem, and I very quickly discovered at IIT that I was better than many of them. Especially where it mattered, stuff like mathematics and physics, and so even though I didn't speak much English at the time, I didn't speak any English as a matter of fact, but I was good at reading and writing English. And, but when it came to the math and other things, I was really good. So it took me only a few months at IIT to feel that I belonged, and I could hold my own, and I did.
Can you share a little bit what it was like to be an Indian immigrant to the U.S. in 1967? The Beatles had gone to India, which intrigued many Westerners, but I think many Americans had not met one themselves around the time that you were making your way here.
So 1967, it was a different America. The day I landed in Detroit, end of summer of 1967, there were race riots going on in the city, and the actual violent race riots going on in the city. When I came from New York, the Detroit airport, and from there to the bus station, you could see the stores and cities burning. And so that was America. America was changing rapidly. 65, Civil Rights Act, and all that. So there was a very rapid change taking place in America. But also America was at the top of its game. It was about to put a man on the moon. It was all about space. All the discussions were about space, and we were. It's hard for people to believe. We were actually invited by America to come to America. They were looking for engineers. They were looking for scientists. and they would have the ads on India. America is open to you. And so when I did apply for the visa in summer of '67, I got my visa, and this is just something most will find strange. We had an all expenses paid trip to Delhi by the U.S. Embassy for orientation lesson. What you should expect in America. So they paid for our plane train ticket and stay in Delhi, to come to Delhi for orientation session. You can't even imagine that anymore, right? And so because America was very confident at the time, was changing rapidly, and of course India was at the bottom of its game. India had a famine in 1966. If you are old enough to remember, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri had said we should not eat one day a week. So we could tide ourselves over, and U.S. was shipping huge amount of wheat to India to keep India from starving. So '66 was a very bad year. We were at the bottom of our game, and U.S. was at the top of its game. So when we arrived here, everybody assumed, you have a third world, India, starving people. You can't be that smart. You cannot be that smart. And I mentioned in my book, a professor told me, well, he doesn't want me to fall behind. So if I need any extra help, he'll make extra time available to help us. And it was strange experience. We thought we were the best of the best. And here, somebody says, but he doesn't, think, will keep up with the classes. But I mentioned in the book, we did just fine. We did just fine.
So I've told many friends over the years about how you and Mom met, and jaws always tend to drop because it's such a cute story, yet very improbable. How did you meet an American lady from Connecticut when you were a grad student in Michigan?
Well, I mentioned before, your mom, she had an unhappy childhood also. Just like I had an unhappy childhood, she had an unhappy childhood also. And she went to New York World Fair in 1965, 66. And she signed up to find a pen pal. And 64, 65 was the year Beatles went to India. And Ravi Shankar was visible on the TV. So she wanted a pen pal in India. And so I got eventually met as a pen pal, and we wrote to each other for several years. There was no thought of coming to America. There was no thought of ever meeting. But I did finally come in '67, and we're still writing to each other. She was in Connecticut, I was in Michigan. She joined the Air Force, went to Texas, and to other places. So in 1970, in spring of '70, he finally said, I'm coming home for vacation. And by that time I had moved to New Jersey. Maybe I can stop by and say hello to you. Except that I got laid off before she could come, and I went down to Florida, Fort Lauderdale. And I said, "Ooh, sorry, I'm going to miss you again." He said, No, you're not going to miss me. I'll come to Florida, to say hi to you. So he came to Florida, and that's it. The first time we met, after we had been writing to each other for 4 years, almost 5 years. And 2 weeks later, I proposed, and she said, "We just met." And I said, "Well, I'm feeling pressure from home to come back to India so they will marry me up there." She said, "Well, he's not going back to India to marry." So that was her way of saying yes.
I often joke with people that if RCA hadn't laid you off in 1971, I might have been born in Florida instead of California.
Mm-hmm.
How did 3 layoffs in 3 years shape your thinking about work?
Okay.
How did your 3 layoffs over 3 years shape your thinking about work?
So 19 70, 71 were pretty bad times in America. Yes, in 1969, we put a man on the moon. NASA was a big employer of engineers, but NASA had no follow-up plan to do anything after they put the man on the moon. And so they were starting to wind down the Apollo program, and as a result, people were being laid off everywhere. Engineers, first time in American history, engineers were being laid off. Vietnam War was starting to wind down, and people were being sent to Vietnam. 50,000 people a month were being sent to Vietnam, and also, they're not being drafted and being sent to Vietnam at that rate. And as America, they were coming back from Vietnam. So America was in a very bad shape. And so I had my first job. I lasted 7 months. And on top of all that, 1970 was the year the mini computer industry started to consolidate. Digital computer emerged as a winner. And they were just like Supermicro or companies in this area. 40, 50 startups in mini computers. They were losing out, and they were laying off people. Digital and Dell General had emerged as a winners. So my first job lasted only 7 months as a mini computer CPU designer. And then I went to second job in Florida, working for a company called SCL, Systems Engineering Labs, which was the main supplier of computers to NASA. And I told you, NASA they had no need for computers anymore because they had no follow-up program after the Apollo. So I got laid off there for second time in 7 months. And then I went to third job, working for this time large company, RCA Computer Systems. The RCA was competing with IBM. And they had this slogan called 10% better for 10% less. Except IBM went from a Model 360 to 370, which was 40% better for same price as the old machine. So all of a sudden, RCA's business model it didn't work anymore. So I got laid off third time. And I do want to mention one more story. Earlier, at my first job, I had an offer from IBM, that I had turned down, without really explaining to them why I didn't want to work for them. And IBM, so when I got laid off first time, I sent, we applied to IBM and they sent me a letter saying, I am not eligible for a job at IBM for life. I still have that letter saved. So IBM was 80% of the industry, and I told I'm not eligible for a job at IBM. So three layoffs in a little over 2 years, and we moved out west. And I got married in spring of 71. So my last layoff was late summer of 71. By the way, after I proposed to her, I got laid off. And I was afraid that she might change her mind. She wasn't changing her mind. And then we got married, and I got laid off again. So he and I drove out to this area in 1971, and we've been here ever since. So I became very aware that jobs are not something you can depend upon forever. Jobs are, you're putting your destiny in somebody else's hands, and if company's in trouble, you're in trouble, right?
So you often describe becoming an entrepreneur as a quirky personality trait. What made you finally listen to that inner voice and ask the question, why not me?
So I did very, very well as an engineer. Really well. To the point, I was the top dog at the company I worked here in Sunnyvale. I was like a genie. You assign me any project, no matter how long, how complex, I'm done in 6 weeks. They wouldn't believe. You need this in designs. I will not stop until it's done, and I was very good. My stuff always worked, and so I was there several years, and I'm doing well as an engineer. But then I realized that I wasn't getting the promotions. The people who were flunkys were getting promotions, and so I asked my boss. He said, "No, you're our best engineer. We can't afford to lose you." But read back to the lines. Indians are not managers. They're not teenage managers. We had been typecast back then as a techies. Then this one guy, and by the way, all my bosses were into Amway. And one of them invited to his house. Tried to recruit me as an Amway distributor output, and that scared the hell out of me. If I get promoted to become a manager, I have Amway to look forward to. As well, this one engineer who worked for me, I saw his name appear in the newspaper that he had started a company, in Sunnyvale, and this is 1980-81. There was something called Altos computers. I don't know if anybody remembers. The Altos was the original CPM Z80 hotbox. It was the first business machine. It had that word processor and the spreadsheet. And all of a sudden I see, I have his name in the book.
David Jackson?
David Jackson. I said, if David Jackson could become an entrepreneur, what's stopping me? I'm 10 times better than David Jackson. He worked for me. And then I realized that David Jackson had the courage, chutzpah, to leave his job and go become an entrepreneur. Here I am stuck because I have a mortgage, I'm married, I depend on my paycheck, and so all of a sudden I said, I am much better than David Jackson. If he can do it, why can't I do it? And that thought ate at me. So I finally told Anne that I was going to leave my job and try my hand at entrepreneurship. And he got very worried very quickly. We have a house, we have children, we have mortgage, we have car payments. What's going to happen to us? No paycheck. For year, 18 months, and she started to really say, am I making you unhappy? I had nothing to do with the dear that guy David Jackson was making me unhappy. And I had to go try my hand. And so I told her that we are fairly well set, and Bobby, I will tell you, I had bought 4 houses. By that time, we had equity in those 4 houses. Real estate was a thing to do, before the laws changed. I said, we have houses we can sell, cash out the equity, and we can last for about 18 to 24 months. And if we don't make it, within that time, I'll eat my pride and I'll go back and get a job. And so I left my job and I think in December of 81, and we opened our doors in April of 82.
Well, you and I work in early stage tech investing these days, and Indian founders don't have much trouble raising money. There's a lot of capital, risk capital. What was it like to raise money from VCs for Excelan back in 82?
Wasn't easy. We got about 100 no's. Before we got one maybe. And, there were no Indian managers, let alone Indian entrepreneurs. There were no who will sell, who will market, who will, be a general manager. The notion of damn good business plan. You got the smart. That your stuff will work. That, but who will run the business? So that issue had to be answered, right? And eventually, the VCs are, they're gamblers, right? So one of them said, damn good business plan. Yeah. By that time we had a product already working, we could demo. And by summer of 82, we opened the door in February. By April, June, July of that year, we had a customer who bought a product from us. And we had another customer who paid us money to design an Ethernet board for them. So there was this proof, stuff works, market is there. So eventually one VC says, maybe it's time to fund an Indian entrepreneur. And that's how we got funded.
You describe in your book that becoming a CEO was a battlefield promotion. How did you make that mental shift? As a kid, I recall it as the beginning of a suspender phase in your wardrobe.
So I was nerd. I was a proper nerd, beard, pocket protector, and everything like. Very comfortable in my trade. I know I could do magic, using logic design, and so we had this partner, Dr. Indus, he passed away about a month ago. He was very polished. Those two is the top private school in India, and he was also highly taught for Yale PhD, very polished guy, presented himself really well. So even though it was my idea, my plan, he became the CEO because he was more presentable, and I felt more comfortable in the back, in doing the design work. And but in that didn't work out very well at the even though we had the parts, it wasn't selling, it wasn't, stuff was not happening, at this rate, should have been happening. So Indra got fired by the board, and we were running out of money, and the guys who gave us money, they had a remorse. One of them said, we should have never bet on the Indians. We knew they couldn't sell. We knew they couldn't market. And then he looked at me and says, you mind the place before we go find a CEO, and don't spend any money. And I said, sure. So overnight, I got promoted from being a VP of engineering to CEO. 7-8 months worth of money in the bank, and So Vash will remember, he was there with me at that time. We overnight, reorganized the company. I let 1/3 of the company grow to extend the runway a little bit, and totally changed the business orientation. And within 3-4 months, we were starting to sell. We chose to sell to our customers directly rather than through OEMs. That was the main idea. And the product was really, it had to be repackaged, repriced, that we did that year. And by late summer, early fall, Indra was let go in March, April. By July, August, we are starting to sell really well. By September, October, we are profitable, cash flow positive. And so I had to change my outlook, my wardrobe, and I went through this total transformation that summer. I hired a speech therapist to help me with my speech. She will come and spend time with me, and it was like a metamorphosis. Overnight, went from being a nerd to being a CEO.
Excelan eventually was acquired by Novell, and you were in the C-suite there. That period of life, you were simultaneously navigating challenges at home. I thought I'd just give you space to share anything you wanted to about that period.
Before we merged with Novell in '89, we did go public, in 1987. I had become CEO, in April of '85, and so we were doing well enough to go public by early '87. Yeah, we went public in early '87, and Novell merger happened partly because there was a market crash in '87 October. Stock market went from 2,700 down to 600. Like 75% lost within 2-3 weeks. And so it didn't impact us business-wise. We were profitable, money in the bank, so that wasn't an issue. But investors weren't happy, employees weren't happy. All of a sudden, the wealth we had produced disappeared, and so Novell came in and offered us a huge premium over the stock price, and the investors were tired anyway. The board members, we sold to Novell and merged with them in early '89, and again, I went through. Novell was a Utah-based company, we are a California-based company, and I went through another change. All of a sudden I'm commuting to Utah, and Utah is a Mormon country. They have their own values, no traffic, no. They think those are really bad for you, and but also I did really well at Novell as a matter, but I did extremely well, but wasn't fitting in here, at least in their eyes. They didn't want a California type running a Utah company, so I didn't get the job to become a CEO, and but I left. So that was the last time I ever worked for anybody.
You were just recognized yesterday on stage at TiECon as one of the co-founders of TiE. Tell us about your effort, the effort you put into growing that network worldwide.
So, the TiE was an idea whose time had come. This is the old Victor hero saying, an idea whose time has come, nobody can stop. So by 92, 93, enough Indians were doing well, had done well, but Indians were still not getting respect in America. And India was starting to change from being a socialist to being an open economy. So these combination of things said, hey, we should encourage our people to become entrepreneurs rather than go get a job. So the idea, there was several of us, Milpitas is here, he was one of them. There are 15, 20 of us who would meet once a month and talk about, hey, how do we transform this mindset from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. And the idea of TiE was mooted in late 92, early 93, and we held a workshop, called the Workshop for Entrepreneurs. We thought, maybe 100 people will sign up. 500 people signed up. And it was held at 3 months. Oh my God, we better prepare. 500 people are showing up. We better not disappoint them. So we spent a huge amount of time to organize ourselves. And TiE got started because of that TiE first workshop in '93, I think, around Mother's Day. And it was an idea whose time had come. So I don't think anybody had ambitions or plans to make a large networking organization that it eventually became. It just grew and grew. The Indians were ready, and so we were pulled along. So I never went back to work because of TiE. I got so busy, organizing, mentoring, for TiE.
Let's talk a little about your political awakening. How did you go from a soldier who helped get the India civil nuclear deal through the Senate to having Congressman O'Connor write the foreword in your book?
So TiE, ICC, were the early, things, we had a economic way of thinking, to try how do we make our people entrepreneur. There were people who were bringing their parents over from India, how do we provide for there was a senior citizens center, we sort of shared the office with Thai, and from so those two, I guess grew and that became India community center. How do we take care of our seniors, our children, and their particular needs? So those two, I guess, were emerging, and then there was thought that we need to participate in politics. The 2000-2001, the U.S.-India nuclear deal, sort of was this part. We organized nationwide. There was a part. The group of us, organized, to push the U.S.-India nuclear deal. Even though it was being pushed by President Bush and Prime Minister Vajpayee, there was no awareness either in India or in the US. So we organized and raised $20 million, to push that along, and that deal went through, and was approved by the way in the US Senate 99-1, and we talked to every senator. We gave money to every senator. 200 was given to every senator from us. And I was assigned two senators, Senator Biden and Senator Harry Reid. I got to know them really well. I would travel to DC. So that's when I became aware that we need to participate in the politics also. And so we tried to form party election committees, and for me, Star was trying to do that here, but we were never able to organize that here in the valley. But from that thought, I started to support any Indians, American running for the, especially youngster running for the office. So I had the open policy. Anybody running for the clerical office, I'll support. We have Kanwal Rekhi here. He was a member of DNC during that time, right? And so we had politically active people, and so Rajann came to the valley as a youngster, 27, 28-year-old. He had done his law degree at Yale, and like a brash young man, he took on a sitting congressman who was the Holocaust survivor, Tom Lantos. Tom Lantos was a congressman from the San Mateo area, and he had tattoo, on his arm from being in one of those concentration camps. So I told him, are you stupid part now? You don't take on a sitting congressman, especially one like Tom Lantos. So he, sort of worked, and so eventually I told him to run, and he ran against Mike Honda, lost twice, and he was feeling very discouraged, So I told him, like an entrepreneur, you start up fails, you do the next one, and if the next one fails, you do the next one. You haven't lost until you decide it's not for you. Do you want to be a congressman? Yes. One more time. So he ran third time and he won. That was about 10 years ago. And so I have supported every congressman, every Indian who ran for the Congress from that period. It became very untenable afterward. So many of them running, you can't support them. And but Rajann never forgot that. And by the way, Rajann, he also won the same year, 2016, from Illinois. And I had also helped him starting in 2007, 2008. So I became pretty active in DC, for about 8, 9 years, 10 years. But I pulled out of that one now.
So you say you wrote this book in part to really galvanize a whole generation of entrepreneurs, especially in India. Would you like to expand on that before we go to audience questions?
So India was very socialist. The government had this policy of controlling the economy, explicit policy of controlling the commanding heights of Indian economy, right? That was the resolution of the Communist Party of India. So when they came in 1971, they were still sort of lost, and the CAI started with the CAI as a platform to start preaching the gospel of entrepreneurship and wealth creation in India. So we put a delegation in 1998 to India from the valley and held a seminar in Bombay and Delhi. And it was titled Entrepreneurship and Wealth Creation, Silicon Valley Style. That was the first time anybody openly talked about entrepreneurship and wealth creation in India. And the US government really loved it because one of them told me, this is something we want to do, but we are not welcome. Indians are a little touchy. I'm glad you guys are doing it. And so we got a lot of support from the US government, but it was our Thai initiative. And now India is becoming very entrepreneurial. Right? India is our third largest entrepreneurial country in the world after US and China. 500,000 entrepreneurs, startups left and right. IT industry in India has become the largest industry. Almost $500 billion now in size.
So I think we have mics to do some Q&A from the audience, so just raise your hand, and then when we're done with that, I'm going to have my brother Ben come up to just do some thank yous, and we have a special surprise for you all.
Okay. Introduce your name or yourself first.
Hi, my name is Jay. I grew up here in the Bay Area. My mother and uncles have a very similar background to you. They came here in the 70s. They worked in the tech field and medical field, and invested in real estate and have done well. We've been involved with Thai and ICC. My mother was the founder of the Gandhi Camp, along with me. I just have a couple general questions, one about India, one about one more general. So about India, you mentioned when you came in the 70s, people, were not that respectful of India. They were unfamiliar with it. Today, things have come a long way. India is now on its way to becoming a superpower alongside the U.S. People respect India for their engineering and technical abilities, but then they're also now starting to respect the spirituality, everything else. So the only thing is, India with its billion people, in order to compete with the U.S. That has much more land and resources, we need to be more efficient. We need better infrastructure, better roads, better management of resources, things like that. Are you involved with Modi in terms of using India's resources more efficiently so that it can continue to support the great abilities that India has? That's the first question. The second question is more general. In today's age of AI, the big question for young people is, are jobs going to disappear? And there's a mix of opinions about that. Jobs are not going to disappear, but people will have to either become more artistic, or develop more individual talents, or we'll just have to learn to manage the AI better. So maybe you can comment about that as well.
So I'm not involved with Modi and the stuff is not stuck in the mud. like it used to be. India is the largest builder of infrastructure now. The last there was 200 kilometers of roads are being built every day in India. There's airport coming up, new airport coming up in India every month. So the infrastructure is happening. And you cannot transform a large country like India overnight. 1.4 billion people. But India is not stuck in the mud. It's growing 7% year in, year out for the last 30 plus years. If you go back to 91, it has grown 7% a year. At 7% a year growth, every 10 years you double in size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rule of 70.
Yeah, rule of 72, right? And so you can see already in last 28 years it has grown 15, 16 fold. And so you can project forward. 30 years, 40 years out. India, is already among the top 5 economies. It was number 4, it has become number 6. And within last since the war started, because the rupee depreciated rapidly, and India is now number 6. Both Japan and England are bigger economies than India right now in the last 2 months. But it's a matter of time. There's enough entrepreneurship happening in India now. 10,000 new startups every month. 10,000 new startups. So you can see this stuff is happening, and you can forecast out. And to reach the US level is nearly impossible for anybody, not even China. US economy is growing. US per capita income is 74,000. It's growing. Your economy grows 2-3%. US produces more per capita here than the per capita income in India of Indians. Just because of 2-3% growth, if it has a very large base. US is, I don't think anybody can ever catch the US, right? Mm-hmm. But India will, with your close second, close third, 50 years out. You gotta put that kind of horizon on it. AI is no different than steam engine was, or railroad was, or the radio was, or the electricity was. If you go back to, each one of them, destroyed jobs. New York City in 1900 was a horse economy. Almost everything was driven around horse and horse buggy. The bricks maker, the old suppliers, the street cleaners, the library, the whole economy was driven around the horse. And when the horseless buggy came, there was a big fear that all the jobs would disappear, and they did disappear.
But then new jobs came.
So any time you have a new economy which starts to change, rearrange things, jobs disappear very rapidly. But life goes on. Smart people, they find things to do. Automobile created more jobs than were lost because of the horses, right? In 1900, half the US economy was agriculture. Less than 2% of the US economy is agriculture right now. Internet rearranged everything. What happened to the movie industry, the music, the publishing industry, even now retail, retail is coming. So the new efficient technologies destroy jobs first, but more jobs are produced later. So there's just one way to think about is when you have full employment, everybody is working, doing the job, busy, doing this and that. There's nobody left to do anything new. But everybody's employed doing what's happening now. When something new comes, there's a 10% of people, these 10% are now freed up to do something new. and they start using themselves to doing stuff new. What is new? I don't know. Who would have thought of all the stuff that happened with the internet? The internet was laying, So you need to lay off people to free up the people so they can do something new. And what they will do, I don't know. Internet is not, the AI is no different. AI is a better way, more efficiency, it will lay off people faster. But life goes on. Smart people don't roll over and die. They have the mortgage, they have the children, they have the, they find a way to survive. They do things that weren't being done before. So I am not worried about. I am not worried. AI will make America really rich. You never get worse off when the country has horizontal rich. U.S. is a democracy. If you get rich, the remaining, the majority will vote to tax the hell out of them and distribute the wealth. That's the beauty of democracy, right? So I am not worried about U.S. or even India, by the way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hi. I'm Dhaval Shah. I'm from IIT. I came in '94 to study computer science at Stanford, IIT. The question I had was about, and right now I work in AI machine learning consulting. I had a question about your founding Excelan. What gave you the idea, right? Because you must be thinking of so many ideas, being such a creative person. Why that specific idea and how did it come about? That was one question. And second one was follow up on the AI question. Will it get worse before it gets good, or will it be different this time? Like the bust happens and then again things get better. So you think that will happen based on all your experience, or you just keep on going without the bust?
So it always gets worse first, right? Because the efficiency surpasses people very quickly. And those people have to be laid off, let go, and then they have to start worrying about themselves, and they do the startups. I've seen enough of, that happened enough times to tell you that, you'll be fine, 2, 3, 4 years out. But AI has been around now 5 years. When was the chat GPT? It's a 4 years, okay, 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't see massive unemployment yet. But there's a rapid change taking place. We are building more data centers. We are employing people there. Data center. When they are being built, all the supply chain. So I think this will happen. Coming back to the idea, how did I come up with the idea of networking? The IBM PC was announced in September of 81. And first time we had this computer on the business desktop. And we had the mini computers, we had the mainframes, we had the super micros. So all of a sudden, it hit me that, hey, somebody's gonna have to network all these machines. Because these machines will have to share data, and hence the networking. And I will, I'll jump on it and I'll do it. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a magician with logic design. Even though I had not worked in networking or communication, I was a logic designer. I said, let me pick up the specs. There were specs of Ethernet available. I picked up the spec and I read them. Oh, I can design Ethernet using off these chips. I sat down and sketched a design on my drafting table, and I looked at 3-4 times. They should work, and that was our plan.
Thank you.
I think we can take maybe another 2 questions or so, and then I'll have Ben come up.
Is it audible? Oh yeah, there's one over there first. Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. So most of the successful guys eventually go out and contribute to the society, right? And so what's your plan to give back to the society? And I knew in the technology space, yes, but in other space of life where there are underprivileged community which are struggling for basic things, what can be done at your thought process level? That would like to know.
I'm 81. So I'm not going to draw do anything new anymore. You know, I want to live happily ever after. But I was only 42 when Excelan went public in 1987. You know, I could have gone and do it next startup or two. You know, and but I didn't. I got pulled into doing the Thai. I said, Thai started to happen, and I devoted almost all my energy for 10 plus years, helping, make Thai happen. And from there I got, pulled into, I then can spend a huge amount of time in India. People from IIT Bombay, they will tell you, there's a building named after me there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We got to
I think I've done my bit. There's a building named after me at Michigan Tech, in Hotel Michigan. Me and my wife and we have 10 perpetual scholarships at Michigan Tech and 10 perpetual scholarships at IIT Bombay. The 10 kids will get scholarship forever. So I am named chair at a professor at Michigan Tech and a named chair professor at IIT Bombay. So I think I've done my bit. It's time for you to pick up the mentor.
I'm a physician, retired. I call myself retired. Now I know why you're so successful. You're number 2 in your family?
Number 3.
Oh,
No, my eldest brother died, so I am number 2 right now.
yeah, number 2. Number 2, there is a book from Harvard called Born to Rebel. They are all successful number 2. Now we know that he's. By the way, I was told by by my daughter who's second born. Yeah, Born to Rebel, whether it was Hitler, whether it was Genghis Khan, they were all number 2. So your success, of course, you have been putting.
We are dangerous repeat because number 2.
Yes. 2 are successful. You have done a great job. Thank you, and excellent for sharing all this with us.
I heard it was number 3. The British Empire was built by the 3rd sons. The number 1 son inherited everything, title, property. The number 2 son was a backup in case the number 1 son didn't work out. The number 3 was pushed out, and they went out and conquered the world and built the British Empire.
Yes, my name is Najmi Minhaj. We came from Sacramento. So the other day, President Trump used the term hellhole for India and China. So I was listening to a commentary on YouTube, and the guy from India, you see, he said, yes, it is really a hellhole. And living in India for a common person is just like living in a hell. And he gave a whole list of 10 or 15 things, you see, that look at how the common people in India are living, what is their standard of living, and food and water and air quality. And in a country where girls like 3, 4, 5 years old girls are being raped, so that is basically what common people are going through. So on one side, yes, there is a lot of progress, what you said about infrastructure and all that. On the other side is basically life for a common people. The question is, this is the question that, what do you have to say about that?
Well, so let me tell you, hellhole is much better than the shithole countries that we talked about. You know that? So we are not quite shithole yet, right? you know, they let me be a good Christian, you know, continuing not, but he knoweth not. Right? That's the Christian charitable way of saying, you know, President Trump is President Trump. Right? So I would, you know, there are 5 million Indian Americans here. The average Indian American's income is twice the income of average white American. So you can tell you know, that the Indians are 1.5% of the US population, you know, they are about 15% of US doctors, they are about 10 to 15% of all the professors in America, and you know, about 20 to 25% of entrepreneurs. So you can see, we are not the people who will be suppressed for very long. Yeah, I can go back and give you the history of how we got there, but almost doesn't matter. 91, when we decided to make a move, we have grown on average about 16-fold per person per capita income in India. So it's not as if things are still. Well, nobody can have the standard of living of America unless you have the income of America. The only people who have income of America are the oil countries and all that. But an average Indian is much better off than it was time of independence. And we stayed poor from the time of independence in 1991 because we were progress. We didn't let the economic problem happen. But change is afoot. If I was to put another, 34, 35 years since the 91 change now, right? Another 34, 35 years, and let's put us in 2060. And if we maintain the 7% growth, we are going to be in very good shape. There's no magic wand. There's no easy way to take care of the people's problem. We try to leapfrog using 5-year plans. Russia did that too. China tried to do that too. Eventually, it has to be done by the people using their ingenuity, entrepreneurship. That's what America has done. That's what India is doing. That's what China did. And we need to let that happen. And it takes time. There's no. If things were stuck in the mud, I would be, even at my age, go back and fight. Things are not stuck in the mud. Things are happening. Things are happening in India. And, we gotta put a lot of perspective on it. So, impatience is an enemy. That's how we got in trouble. In 1947, we were going to be a developed country after five-year plan. Right? That was the plan. Within five-year plans, 25 years we will be a developed country. We were worse off in those 25 years than we were at the time of independence. Because the government tried to do it, suppress the entrepreneurship of the people, initiative of the people. So I think, hellhole, for sure it is right now, but it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. There are 5 million people in India who are, very well off. There are 50 million people in India who are, doing really, really well. Average income of about 25 to 30,000. But there are billion people who don't know that. But if you go back, 30 years, everybody was going to know that. So it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. 7% growth, is a phenomenal growth, and can we bring it to 10%? Yeah, I think we can bring it to 10% by having better policies. But I'll take 7% for sure.
Okay, I'd like to invite Ben to come up, and just to remind everyone, there's books for sale outside. I think Dad's willing to stay a little bit to sign any books that people didn't have a chance to bring before the program.
Yeah, we'll move the chairs down, don't leave. Ben has a 2-minute trailer of the movie on the book. So there's a lot of things in the book, like Kanwal had a chance to buy Cisco.
Wow.
Or 25% of Cisco, but his board said no.
Oh, man.
And then he was the consultant to Vajpayee for telecom department. So there's a lot of nuggets here. But Ben has made a movie, and we'll show you a trailer here. And all the people who came here get a free ticket to the movie.
Awesome.
And if needed, we'll have buses from here, ICC.
Are you going to?
No, we have some vans, but you have to come to ICC. And today at ICC, we have many other programs. So if you want, after this, there is Bhajan clubbing, Gen Z. You have to act like a Gen Z.
Are you going to have a movie showing here at ICC?
No, it's showing in San Francisco as part of the film festival next week. Yeah, that was all I was going to say. He said it all.
Okay.
So it's we'll show this is a 2 minutes trailer for the film. We will provide everyone for a ticket for free for here. That's nice to hear. We will do that. And there's also buses leaving from here, so if people want to go. But it's really a story about the Indian diaspora and what it's like to move to a new place and give up everything and pursue your dream. Very emotional. We're very excited for you to see it. We just had our premiere last week. Can we tell these? Oh, these are somewhere. Okay. Yeah, 2 minutes, then we're done.
Ben, tell about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I am a filmmaker, born and raised up here, live in Los Angeles, have done 6 feature films and a bunch of music videos and short films. This film has been 5 years in the making. We sort of started it just before we started the book, and it became the most personal thing we've done because our mom fell sick during the making of it, and we confront a lot of challenging things in our own lives and in the community and talk about it. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'll just leave it there.
Entrepreneurial journey is always lonely, and it was especially lonely for people like us.
When people ask what my dad does, it's always a little hard to explain.
Kanwal's personal story is quite amazing.
He is one man who has proven that immigrants do make major contributions to the U.S. economy.
This film was initially just a way to document his success.
America was a happening place.
I believe that this nation should commit itself.
But for me now, it's become an exploration of his sacrifices.
If I was going to amount to anything, I had to build on my own.
He could get computers to do things that nobody else could.
He was the first Indian to take a company public on the Nasdaq.
100 people eventually became millionaires.
How do you balance having a family while pursuing your dream?
You talk about anxiety attacks.
People like us from underdeveloped countries don't know anything.
It is a compulsion. It is a pressure from inside.
I'm sure it hurt him deeply.
Am I good enough? Then if I am, then I have to go prove it. Don't measure your success by how much money you made. It's how much good you did.
The movie, what time, and how did they get tickets?
Okay. The tickets are available on the QR code that you see on all the cards, and we have a free code that we'll give to everyone here. This is going to be distributed this fall. We have a very innovative release strategy to be on all major platforms, plus some interesting non-traditional ways. The film's 82 minutes. This will be the only time to see it in the Bay Area for the next several months, so I would love for you guys to be part of that first crowd. We had the sold-out show in LA for 400 people last weekend, and won the audience award there, and there was not a dry eye in the house. It's a very emotional film, very funny too, because, I don't know, you caught this, but Dad is very funny. And yeah, it talks about things in the Indian community. There's very vulnerable things in this film, and it's a very moving experience and very cinematic. So I hope you can see it on the big screen. Yes.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for making the film. So you mentioned, have you already had a deal with Netflix to eventually after you're done with the theaters?
I will tell you, we can't announce anything now, but all those conversations are happening.
So I just have a quick comment. At the Thai office a month ago, a filmmaker from India came in and showed his documentary about the human side of AI called Humans in the Loop.
It's not a documentary, it's a fictional film, but it's amazing.
Right. So one of the things we talked about there is, here in Silicon Valley, everyone has a very strong technical background, but it's also good to keep in mind the human side of innovation, technology, AI. So I think it's important the film Humans in the Loop, along with your film, be shown in colleges and in the area and discussed. So I'd like to talk to you about that as well afterward.
Yeah. No, Aranya, the director, is a close friend. His film is amazing.
Okay.
Then what got you interested in making in China? Like, what interested you into that?
It was a hobby. It was just doing backyard movies with friends. It's funny, like, Dad is an entrepreneur at heart, and filmmaking, we've discovered, is a very entrepreneurial journey. So he's been able to give me advice every step of the way. Like, I remember the first time I had to fire someone on a production, and I was very nervous to tell Dad. And when I did, he was like, "Good. That means you really care, and you're setting an example for other people that you expect the best." And so I've learned so much from him along the way.
Thank you.
Also, very personal. Him and I are in front of the camera. Rajann's there. I never wanted to be an actor. Okay, that's a lie. Maybe some people. But it's been a very personal journey, and I hope it's unlike anything I've ever made or done, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys.
Hello, my name is Seema Minhaj. I'm very impressed with the trailer, and I'm very much inclined to go and see it because, first of all, it shows the journey of your father, and then it also proves that how immigrants have made such a big difference in this country, and it will actually not be seen only by a group of people in Bay Area or LA, it will be throughout the USA. So I'm very impressed with your work, and congratulations. My son is also in this kind of industry. He does stand-up comedy, and he's also Hassan Minhaj, maybe you know him. And I'm very impressed with your father as well as with us, that we let our kids do something different than otherwise following the same footsteps. So I'm very happy for you as well as I'm very impressed with your parents.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very impressed with your son. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few weeks ago. His show, Hassan Hates Ronnie, Ronnie Hates Hassan, that is amazing. It's one of the most clever, brilliant things I've ever seen.
Thank you, thank you.
Dad has this line from their generation, which is, "Our fathers fought wars so we could start businesses, so our children could write poetry." And I think that seems to be true.
You have proved that too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this was part of what we have Agora series. Agora stands for Public Square. We started this year we will be inviting speakers, distinguished authors. So stay tuned. If you came here, if you were part of the registrations, you will get invitations to future events. Anything you want to add, Talaji? Closing? Okay. So with that, there's more chai and kachoris, and if you want to stay back, we have 2 rows in the front for bhajan clubbing. That's a big new trend. Otherwise, we'll all see you at the movies.